Have you ever found yourself with a pile of new music to learn and nowhere near enough time to learn it? When the clock is ticking, most of us do the obvious thing. We put the music on the stand and dive right in. Every minute spent not playing feels like a minute wasted. But what if a few minutes spent not playing at all before you play a single note could actually help you learn all the music faster? Hi, I'm Noah Kageyama. I'm a performance psychologist and Juilliard-trained violinist, and I translate research from the performance science literature into practical strategies to help you practice smarter and perform your best when it matters most. In this video, we'll take a look at a study that tested whether one simple thing done before you ever play a note changes how quickly you learn a new piece. We'll see how it affected not just how much the participants improved during practice, but how much they kept improving afterward, even without picking the instrument back up. And I'll share a few specific things you can do to put this to use in your next practice session. So I grew up as a Suzuki kid, which meant that I listened to recordings constantly. In the morning, during meals, in the car, even as I was falling asleep with a little stereo my mom would leave running on my dresser. It's one of those things that always kind of stuck with me. Even in grad school, before I'd look at a score or pick up the violin for a new piece, I'd go track down a recording first. My wife, who's a pianist, was the opposite. She always liked getting a piece into her own fingers first before listening to anyone else play it. But a few years ago, when she had a mountain of music to learn for performance on short notice, she loaded up her phone with recordings of every piece and spent a 16-hour flight listening to everything on an endless loop. Kind of like looking at the box of a 10,000-piece puzzle to see what the completed image looks like before you start fitting the pieces together. So, is listening just an old habit that I never let go of? Or does it actually do anything to speed up the learning process? Well, a 2014 study provides some clues. A team of researchers wanted to see what effect having an auditory model, basically a clear example of how the music sounds, might have on how quickly musicians pick up something new. So they recruited 32 music majors and gave them a deliberately unfamiliar task, learning a short 13-note melody on a keyboard with their left hand. Since everyone in the study was right-handed and none were pianists, this made for a task that was genuinely a bit tricky. Everyone got a single practice session, about 12 minutes, to work on the melody with one instruction: to play it as quickly, accurately, and evenly as possible. But there was one difference between the two groups. Before anyone played a note, half of them, the listening group, first heard a recording of the melody played for them 10 times. The other half just got to work. After their practice session, everyone went home, and about 12 hours later, after a full night's sleep, they came back to see how much of the previous evening's practice had actually stuck. So how did it go? Well, both groups improved during their 12 minutes of practice, no surprise there. Everyone played the melody more accurately at the end of their session than they did on their very first attempt, but they didn't improve at the same rate. The group that listened first started at an average accuracy score of about 52, and by the end of the session had climbed to nearly 100, about a 92% improvement. The group that didn't listen started in basically the same place, around 49, but they only got up to about 84. That's a 73% gain, which is still good, but well short of the listening group. So what happened the next day when they came for another test? Well, even without having touched the melody again, both groups played it more accurately than they did the night before. However, the two groups didn't benefit equally from the night's sleep. The group that listened first improved by 9% the next morning, finishing at an average score of nearly 109. The other group improved too, but only by about 4%, ending around 87. So all in all, the head start from listening didn't just show up during the practice session, it kept paying off overnight too. So what's really going on here? It's tempting to say that the secret is simply to listen to more recordings, but I think the more useful way to look at it is this. The group that listened knew exactly what they were aiming for. They had a clear model of the target, the actual sounds, tempo, and shape of the phrase they were trying to produce, even before they played a note. The other group was basically trying to hit a target that they hadn't gotten a clear look at yet. So the big takeaway for me from this study is that it reinforces the idea that the clearer your target, the more you seem to get out of every repetition during practice. And perhaps just as importantly, this carries over into how much improvement you experience through memory consolidation overnight as well. So how can we put this into action? Thing number one, before you play a note, get the sound in your ear. Find a good recording by someone whose judgment you trust, and use that to help you get a clear picture of exactly what you're going for. Or if you have time to spare and can audiate well internally, that is to say you can hear music pretty clearly in your head, you could also study the score and construct a clear goal for what you want the piece to sound like in your mind as well. Either way, the idea is to walk into your practice session already having a pretty clear target, instead of starting to look for it once you're already in the middle of playing. This is something that several past podcast guests have spoken about. For instance, pianist Orly Shaham shared details about exactly when and how she will listen to recordings, and researcher and trumpet player Micah Killian illustrated through his research how essential a clear goal is for each and every practice repetition. I've linked to both episodes in the description if you want to explore this further. Thing number 2, take advantage of memory consolidation. Since what you work on will continue to marinate overnight, working on it before bed and getting a good night's sleep means you'll often come back sounding better the next day. So when you have something new to learn, setting aside a few minutes at the end of the day to work on it right before sleep can quietly tip that process in your favor. Thing number 3, be intentional about when you listen to recordings. For getting the notes, rhythms, and overall shape of a piece into your hands quickly, listening first could give you a real head start. But when it comes to shaping your own interpretation, leaning on a single recording too early might nudge you towards someone else's choices without your realizing it. An easy fix is to listen to a few different recordings rather than just one, so you're getting to know the piece itself rather than one particular person's version of it. Forming clear intentions like this is a key part of deliberate practice, one of those things that separates more effective practice from just putting in the time. Of course, it's easier said than done, so I put together a free 7-day course that walks you through this and other essential techniques from performance science for improvement that sticks better from one day to the next. I put a sign-up link in the description below.